All right, let's take this conversation forward now, and we speak to the Law Society of South Africa's Executive Committee member, Zincedile Tiya, who joins us from Mthatha. Good evening to you, Mr. Tiya. Let me begin with this question, whether, in fact, lawyers are officers of the court. Now, if a lawyer engages in fraudulent activity, should that lawyer even still be referred to as a lawyer, or should they be dismissed with immediate effect?
Thank you very much, Butroli. There is a process that has to be followed because you can't just, based on what is being said, and you simply conclude that that person engaged in a fraudulent activity or is corrupt. Either it's a politician like minister or a lawyer, but there is a fair process that needs to be followed.
We know of a particular case, and it is that of a Mr. Zuko Nonxuba. It went on for years, and it is only recently that he has finally been hauled before the courts so that he can face justice. How fair is that on the people that he has defrauded? How long is this process of trying to investigate whether indeed the allegations are true against any individual?
The first issue is that we cannot, as the Law Society of South Africa, stand in defense of any lawyer who is conducting himself unethically and who is committing fraud, and even if it's child abuse or any type of crime or offense. We are for the rule of law and constitutionalism. Here, the problem with this case that you are talking about, it can't be the problem of the profession or the problem that he is a lawyer. But the problem is with the state when they're investigating the case. You'll ask yourself, what has it been holding SIU to investigate and finalize the case, and the NPA to prosecute the case, even before it may be brought before the LPC. And remember, for the Law Society or the LPC nowadays, for the LPC to try a case, there must be a complainant, and that complainant simply goes to the LPC and report that I have a problem with this particular attorney. What is the problem? He didn't pay my money, or he did that and that, and the LPC immediately will take upon its hands and follow it up. And with the LPC, you'll find it very funny that there are very few cases that relate, for instance, to road accident fund claims. You'll find more of the cases that are reported would be petty cases of the lawyer not answering WhatsApp and other petty offenses of that are related to misconduct of lawyers. But with the one of Mr. Nonxuba, I am sure that that one has been attended to by the Legal Practice Council of South Africa. And also, I really believe that also on the side of the state, that is the government, NPA and SIU or police, they are dealing with it as speedily as possible. Yeah. I do not know what caused such delays.
All right. In fact, I want to focus the attention on it because it possibly is the one case that we can make reference to. It was in February of this year when Mr. Nonxuba, it would seem, basically had run out of options. A court ordered that the Legal Practice Council pay claims for theft by this lawyer, Zuko Nonxuba. Make us understand why the court would order the LPC to be the one that pays the claims for a lawyer who's conducted himself in a fraudulent manner.
Thank you very much. I would not understand because it depends also on the arguments that were produced by both sides in court and how the court then arrived at that particular decision. But knowing that nowadays there is a LPC, that is the mother body of the legal profession, and there is also the LPFF, where there is the Legal Practice Indemnity Insurance Fund, if maybe you were claiming, even if it's fraudulent fund or whatever, where you were robbed by a lawyer, then that particular body is supposed to pay. Then the most upper body of all these bodies is the LPC. And even if you'll understand, there was a recent case when Adele took LPC to court about the LPFF elections, not taking LPFF to court.
Yeah.
So it is the LPC that is the mother body. Possibly, I'm of the view that by the court saying that the court was seeking to say that LPC facilitate a process to make sure that these victims are being compensated as soon as possible.
All right. You possibly are leading us the direction, therefore, of where I want this to go. Mr. Nonxuba is alleged to have stolen about 350 million rand. These were negligence claims, medical negligence claims, and these monies would go into a trust fund which was intended, well, at least he would claim that it is intended for the children who were born with brain damage at the time of their birth. Why would this lawyer have collected such huge amounts of money undetected? What are the monitoring systems here?
Yes, thank you very much. You see, what happens usually is that, for instance, in the case of the Eastern Cape, there is the provincial government. There is someone there by the name of Mr. House who always follow up with the lawyers, because in court, you will get an order that says health must pay this particular amount, and he will follow it up. Once he is not satisfied with the answers that he receives from the lawyer, he immediately refers that to the LPC, and the LPC will attend to those complaints. So in terms of monitoring, what the LPC does is that in order for any attorney to run a trust fund, that trust fund must be audited annually, and then it would be a question of the auditors themselves living up to the ethical standards that are expected and giving proper reports to the LPC that shows that there was this particular amount that is unaccountable for, or there is this particular amount that is not, that has stayed in the trust account for quite some time without being paid to the victim or the litigant. So the monitoring procedure would be the one of the auditing of the fidelity of the trust account, and also the one of the provincial government, which is the provincial treasurer.
The reason I'm asking this question about the monitoring mechanisms, again, I want to quote directly from the Zugo Nonxuba case. The courts found in this way, and I want to quote directly here, the facts depict a woeful picture. From 2013 to 2014, having known of several complaints, it did not take any steps against Mr. Nonxuba. This is in reference to the Legal Practice Council. Only on July 13, 2019, after the MEC for Health in the Western Cape made an application against the LPC to investigate him, did the LPC start taking steps. This is a period of approximately 5 to 6 years after they had knowledge of possible misconduct. I know you don't speak for the LPC, but this is possibly the reason why it was now being instructed to actually pay, so that perhaps it then is going to start attaching stuff from Mr. Nonxuba in order for it to settle some of these monies, or to basically recoup these monies from him.
Yes, maybe I must bring some clarity on some issues. You must remember that the LPC came into existence on the first day of November 2018. That's then when it started to operate. We elected for the first time the Legal Practice Council in 2018. And even then, you must remember that even police do not just investigate, they investigate crimes where the people will be making noise about such crimes. Because one other thing that people do that maybe possible he might have done is that maybe there will be this particular client who is complaining. When he starts to complain, he will pay him, and then the case will have to be withdrawn. Yeah. Because the same client who opened the case will be the same person who will withdraw it.
I want to close the conversation and ask a question that really doesn't, in a way, go above people's heads. This is a question from a point of view that says, as a society, when something goes wrong in a person's life, you tend to rely on lawyers in order to go and either make sure that they represent you in a court of law so that you could be bailed and you're able to perhaps regain your life. I'm simply talking about getting into trouble with the law. So we put our trust in lawyers, people like yourself, in order to get us out of trouble. Do you think that these fraudulent activities that have been conducted by some lawyers, and let's be clear, it's not everybody who is corrupt, but it is some lawyers, do you think that they give the profession a bad name?
No. These people are not giving the profession a good name. And you are correct when you put it that way. It's just like when the Minister of Health is lamenting about medical negligence. The people who has to come in there and defend the rights of the people who are ill-treated in hospital by doctors, that we believe, and nurses, that we believe that when we send people to them, they must give them proper health care. It's the lawyers. And then when some of the lawyers are failing to address that, obviously they are bringing the name of the profession into disrepute. Hence, as the profession, all the organizations of the profession, I verily believe that we sing the same song, that we cannot hide. We are not a place for the criminals to hide. All those criminal tendencies must be uprooted, and all those who have conducted themselves in that fashion, they need to be dealt with, and fraud has to be uprooted. We can't tolerate it.
Yeah, because there's one question. I really didn't want to go down this route, but I watched a documentary on Carte Blanche, and we have to mention them because they really did a sterling job following up on these cases. And you watch a child where these children are now left with their mothers who have to care for them, but in order to care for them, they have to go and work and come back and try and take care of them, and they will be gone for a whole day, and this child has no one to look after them. And because they are disabled, you find them not being able to turn like any other able-bodied person would, and as a result, they would develop sores. This is the picture I saw. And you think to yourself, what kind of human being does this to another person? And so, again, I ask you the question, perhaps differently this time, how do you regain the confidence, public trust as lawyers if some of you are capable of such monstrosity?
In order for us, thanks, Rolly, in order for us to gain confidence, the public to gain confidence on us, is for us to come out clean and expose all those who do those unethical activities. And in so doing, we deal with them properly, we remove them from our role, and allow the law to play its own role. And we must remember that after we have dealt with cases, either by the LPC, then the state has to come in the form of prosecution and the SIU to investigate. So that one does not rely really on the lawyers. It relies on the state. Even if there was a fraudulent committed either by an accountant or a doctor or a police, then ultimately the state will have to come in. So in order for us to gain, for us to regain our dignity and the society to believe in us again, is for us what we are doing. I'm calling upon all lawyers in the country to make sure that when they represent people, we are saying as the Law Society of South Africa, they must not forget that they have to show that they are fit and proper, and they have to be loyal, and they have to show ubuntu with whatever case that they are dealing with, and not want to be driven by greedy. If they do that, they must know that they do not belong to this profession.
Zincedile, Tiya, I want to thank you very much for your time and indeed your last words there. Ubuntu is what is always preached in this country because it is those values that we live by. He is with the Law Society of South Africa, an executive committee member there.